The Glow at Home by Rayna Waxhead. Everything had bumps and lumps, scratches and ridges, the walls, the floor, the itchy clothes the men with guns gave us, their discolored, distorted faces, and now my once perfect and creamy smooth skin. I was scratched, bruised, banged, and bumpy from being taken with the others. Were the men with guns trying to turn us into one of them? Were they trying to give us their same muddled faces? Everything around me was dark and muddled, too. Shadows clung to every corner in the room, hung under every tired eye, and lined the large table we sat at. Would skeletons jump out and sing and dance? I missed the glowing, smooth face of Big Mother, and the perfect, unbroken white walls of home where there were no shadows. And I missed the glow of my cartoons, too. Where were the cartoons in this place? The food was bumpy and lumpy and brown, too. Oatmeal. What was that? Where was the cushion toast? Or the real meat gummy burgers? Where were the cheese shakes and the chocolate pizza? And why was this oatmeal served in a heavy bowl instead of a clean plastic package? The others around the table ate this flop. Were they afraid of the men with guns? Big Mother always told me to listen to men with guns. And when I accidentally watched Wrong Channel, I saw guns make a woman's head go splat. I was afraid, but the oatmeal looked like puke, so I only drank the milk. It was white and smooth and pure, and Big Mother said it makes you grow big, like her. A man with guns, the one with a red hat, stood up and cleared his throat. If you're done eating, please line up to wash your dishes in the basin. I looked to the others, and their faces mirrored my confusion. The red hat man continued, In the real world, food and plates aren't thrown away. They don't just disappear. Washing dishes is what's called a chore. You'll be learning how to do other chores, too. You'll grow and prepare your own food. You'll learn to keep a home. And one day you'll take pride in doing these chores. Chores are what real people do to be self-sufficient and live on their own. Live on my own? Why? I didn't want to live on my own. I wanted Big Mother and her helpers. I wanted to go back to the shiny, smooth, white home with the cartoons. I wanted the glow. The red hat man looked to us, and when we didn't react, he broke the confused silence by striking the butt of his rifle on the table. We all shuffled into a line in front of the basin to the sound of the echoing thump. As I got closer to the sink, a man with guns approached me. It was a woman with long dark hair and dark skin. It looks like you didn't even touch your oatmeal. Did you try it? I shook my head no, ever so slightly. The dark woman picked up the spoon from my bowl and scooped up some of the gunk. She faked a smile and held it in front of my mouth. Ah, she said, like Big Mother when I was a baby. I wasn't a baby. I was a big girl, 20 years old. I shook my head no again. Her smile dropped as she sighed. She gripped the sides of my jaw and squeezed, forcing it open to accept the slop she shoveled in. This is what real food tastes like. Real food was disgusting. It sat on my tongue like it was partially chewed, some bits like jelly and others stiff. I spat it out all over my scratchy, rough clothes and dropped the bowl on the floor. The dark woman picked up my bowl. She handed it to me and led me to the sink. You'll learn to like it, and it's good for you, too. The dark woman shoved a smelly, wet thing in my hand. I dropped it into the sink immediately. She picked the squishy square back up and forced it into my grip, taking my hand and moving it in circles to wipe the oatmeal off the bowl and into the basin. She looked up at the red hat man. This one's going to be quite a project. He chuckled. Not a happy chuckle, a chuckle like Big Mother would make before she punished me. He looked at me. We wash our dishes so we can use them again. Use that bowl again? How could it be clean? Why wasn't the oatmeal in a clean, smooth package I can put in the trash slot when I'm done? The red hat man waved me over. Sarah, we have you down for milking the cow with John. That's not my name, I said, keeping my head lowered. It is now. A new name is important for your transition. Now, do you know what a cow is? I smiled and nodded my head quickly. A cow was a friendly character who sings and dances and you pull on to get milk. Cows were in cartoons. My favorite cartoon. Finally, I knew something. Are we on a farm? I knew you weren't hopeless. Yes, Sarah, we're on a farm. A farm was a friendly place with a lot of funny animal friends. I knew that. The Red Hat Man paired me up with one of the others, John, and another man with guns, one with a way too big nose. The big-nosed man led us to the front door. I skipped toward it, ready to see the farm. Farms had bright green, fluffy round trees, perfect straight brown fences. The floor was bright green or brown, but not muddled, and very smooth, too, no lumps or bumps. Farms had nice blue sky walls, with bunches of white circles painted on them, and animal friends. Nice, smooth, fluffy friends. But what I saw when I ran out was nothing like my cartoons. The floor was 1,000,000. I could never count so many green and brown spikes sticking out like doctor's needles or broken screen glass. 1,000 different greens and yellows and browns were all muddled together. The trees weren't fluffy, they were twisted and had sharp little green pieces all over them, and they wouldn't keep still. And the walls, I couldn't tell where they were. And when I looked up, I couldn't tell where the ceiling stopped and where it connected to the walls. It was all so far away. The room was so big, and the sun was so bright and warm. The sky wasn't a wall. It never stopped. There were no walls. There was no ceiling. I looked down, trying to keep my balance. If I looked up, I might float up forever. The big-nosed man put his hand on my shoulder. Have you never been outside before? He forced my head up. It's okay, see? It can't hurt you. It's beautiful. The world began to spin around, and I went limp in his hands. It spun and spun until I passed out. I cracked my eyes open. Where was I? So tired. Dizzy. I was lying in a bed. It wasn't as soft as my marshmallow bed at home, but not as hard as the bunk bed that hurt my back here. The glow. I saw the glow. It was just a faint line on the floor. I slid off the bed onto the dirty floor and crawled to meet the glow. It was shining from under a door. Did they have cartoons in there? Was my room hiding behind this door all along? No, it couldn't have been. I pressed my face against the gap under the door, trying to see into the room. All I could see was the glow flickering on the floor. Strong hands lifted me up and placed me back on the bed. I didn't resist. I was tired, so tired. I looked up. Are there cartoons? I'm sorry, Sarah. No cartoons. My eyes lost focus on the face of the Red Hat Man and closed as I slipped into sleep. They called them potatoes, and they were rough and lumpy looking, like everything else in the real world. My chore that day was to peel them. They were hard and felt like soap under their rough, muddled brown skin. The men with guns said to throw out the green ones because they could be poisonous, like a black bottle with skull and crossbones on it. I couldn't believe we'd eat something so hard and soapy tonight. I went outside that morning. The sun felt nice on my skin, like a thin, warm blanket, and I was getting used to its brightness, but I still couldn't look up into the no-wall sky for very long. The air blowing on my skin tickled my arms and made me smile. The air smelled good, too, like the air fresheners Big Mother sprayed, but easier to breathe. And I smelled a real flower, too, a daisy. I missed Big Mother. I missed her brushing my hair, covering my skin with lotion, and the games we played. Sometimes she gave me candies when I played the games right and showed me off to her friends, the other Big Mothers. I missed the candies. Do they have candies in the real world? My thought bubble burst, and I cut my finger with the peeler. Blood dripped out, and I screamed. Blood is bad. I saw it on wrong channel. The Red Hat Man came and took me away to another room, the one I slept in when I got sick. He sat me down on the bed and poured stinging liquid onto my finger and covered it with a bandage. I cried and cried. It's okay, he said. I couldn't look up at him. I'm scared. I want to go home, I said through tears. You're safe here, he said. Look at me. He took off his hat and bent down and parted his hair to show me two extra kitty ears. His mod. I haven't had the courage to remove 'em yet. He moved his hand down to his belt and tugged on it. And down here, smooth, no lumps or holes, like a doll, just like you. But now, I'm a real person. Behind him, across the hall, the door opened, the door with the glow. I glimpsed a lot of glowing screens. Did they have cartoons on any of them? I couldn't tell, but I knew I had to find out. The potatoes tasted good when they were cooked, not hard and soapy. They were crunchy on the outside, but fluffy inside, like a candy shell with chewy chocolate, but rougher. But the roughness made it more crunchy, and I could eat more than candies because it didn't make me feel sick. But the candy was still better, and my room was better than this place. It had Big Mother and my cartoons. Maybe if I went to the sick room again, I could sneak into the room with the cartoons. Maybe if I ate enough green potatoes, I could get sick. They thought I was sick. I knocked over the big-nosed man and bolted into the room with the glow. But there weren't any cartoons. There were screens with video of different places on the farm. One of them a video of the men with guns right outside the room, trying to get in. They were scrambling and calling to each other and banging on the door, and there were videos of men and women in suits and ties talking with words scrolling below them. And there was a video with a picture of me, with my real name, Bubbles, above it, and Lost underneath. The picture changed to show one of the others, and below the changing pictures it said, "If you've seen any of these pets, call pet control immediately." And there was a number. I picked up the phone on the table and pressed the numbers on the screen. The voice said to stay on the phone, and that they were tracing my location, and that they're coming. The sound of a gun struck the door. The Red Hat man kicked it open and ran in with the other men with guns. I was still holding the phone. He grabbed it and slammed it down. The dark woman grabbed my shirt, her face up to mine. "Who did you call? Who did you call?" "They're coming," I said. The men with guns were running around the farm and gathering the others. They lined them up and put them in the same van they took us with. The Red Hat man grabbed my hand and pulled me towards the van. "Come on, we gotta get out of here." The dark woman separated us. "Just leave her behind. She's caused us enough trouble. We don't leave anyone behind. Remember why we do this." He grabbed me, shoved me into the van with the others, and slammed the double doors shut. We were all so scared, shaking with the bumpy ride away from the farm. "What's happening?" said John. The others were all looking at me. "They're coming. They're coming to take us home." "I don't want to go home. My big mother touches me," said another. And another, "I like real food and real air. I don't have to do tricks here. What I do for myself and for us," said John. The van swerved with a screech and spun out of control. We all tumbled to one side of the van, and our limbs tangled together and were crushed under the weight of each other. We heard a torrent of chaos surround the van. Shouts and gunfire and screams attacked the walls until it was as silent outside as it was inside. The doors were wrenched open, and men with guns, different men, bigger guns and helmets, reached in and tore us out of our hiding. They wore blue jumpsuits with a yellow badge that read Pet Control. The Red Hat man, the dark woman, the big-nosed man, and the other men with guns all lay on the floor outside the van, full of holes and covered in blood, just like Wrong Channel. Big Mother said, "Never watch Wrong Channel. Blood is bad." I looked away. The others screamed and cried and thrashed. I didn't resist, but they bruised and pulled and slapped me too. They pulled my arms back and tied my wrists together and banged my head on the door as I was shoved into another van. After a bumpy ride, they took us to a gray room. They cut and ripped off our clothes, squeezed and pinched our bodies, and sprayed us with a hose. The water was freezing. They gave us new clothes, bungee pants, and baggy white shirts, and cut the ties off our wrists that left a red mark of broken skin. Big Mother finally came. She rushed to me with tears in her eyes. "Bubbles! What did they do to you?" Her hug was too tight, her squishy body pressed against mine, surrounding me against my tender, bruised body. She smelled so strong, too sweet, like the flowers in the farm, but shoved into my nose. She thanked the pet control man and took me to home. "Let's go home. I'll play your favorite cartoon." My glowing cartoons. I was going home. The comfortable, smooth, cozy, not lumpy or bumpy home. My room was smaller than I remembered. Not much space to move around. The walls were smooth, but bare. Blank. No muddled colors, but no colors at all. Why did it feel so empty? The light felt cold, and the air felt thin. "Let me put on your favorite cartoon," said Big Mother, sitting me down on her lap, engulfing me in her soft body. Yes, my cartoons. My favorite cartoon filled the wall screen. The show played on a loop over and over while I ate candies and Big Mother stroked my hair. The cartoon farm looked lifeless. The colors were too cold and bright. They stung my eyes. The animals' songs hurt my ears. My stomach hurt, and my tongue was sore from the candy. "I almost forgot," said Big Mother. "Let me hook you up." I felt a tingle in my back port, and warmth began to fill my body. The stinging on my tongue faded, and my eyes relaxed, sinking into the light. The cartoons came back to life. The bright colors became warm and inviting again. The high pitch of farm animals' songs calmed my mind, and the room grew and glowed. The glow was home.